Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. I am so far. It's beautiful weather outside. The grass is green, flowers are blooming here at the house. Got noisy birds everywhere in the neighborhood. It's just a really nice morning, and hope that you're having a great morning as well. I want to talk to you guys this morning a little bit about the passage that Dr. Mosser talked about this morning in John 20, and point out a few things that I noticed about this story. And it kind of made me start thinking about nicknames, because the second half of this passage, starting in verse 24, John 20, verse 24, is about doubting Thomas. And what a cruddy nickname. I guess we've all had bad nicknames, maybe. I had a really bad one in junior high. There was a really clever kid I was friends with that thought it'd be cool to call me Corduroy, because corduroy pants are lame, and my last name is lame, I guess, Quarter, and so he's like, we got to call him Corduroy. And then this other guy thought it was really funny to say polyester corduroy. My name's Paul. And then they even got to the point where they added my first name, Nolan, into it, so it became nylon polyester corduroy. So I was like, all the fabrics. And I hated it because it was the worst nickname that you could ever possibly have. And in elementary school, I had Polly want a cracker, because parrots are hilarious. I don't know, kids are dumb and they come up with dumb nicknames. But poor Doubting Thomas gets the dumbest nickname of them all, I guess, or the worst one maybe. I don't know, it's dumb, but it's just, to be called Doubting Thomas seems like that's not who you'd want to be, right? But I actually have a lot of respect for Doubting Thomas, and the reason why is he's honest. So many people are not honest. We try to hide behind the facade of what we think other people want to hear. When we're asked, how are things going, we always want to reply with fine. We don't want to tell them how we're really feeling, about what really might be hurting in our heart, because we don't want to make people uncomfortable or for whatever reason. But Thomas, starting in verse 24 of John 20, when they say, we've seen the Lord, and Thomas was one of the 12 disciples. He'd been through this whole 3-year journey with Jesus. And they say, we've seen him. So he's seen all the miracles. He's seen Lazarus. He's seen all that stuff. But when the disciples come to him and say, we've seen the Lord, he says, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my fingers in the wounds left by the nails and put my hand in his side, I won't believe. Unequivocally, I will not believe. Like, just straight up. And I think there's a certain sense of bravery in confronting his doubt. Because think about it, he's around all these guys who are super excited about Jesus, and he's like, nah, not feeling it. And I think there's a certain sense of bravery there that I really respect. So when it comes to our doubts, I think it's important, especially in our community of faith, that we learn to share those with each other. Because 8 days later, it says in verse 26, the disciples were again in a house, and Thomas was with them again. And though the doors were locked, Jesus entered and stood among them, and said, peace be with you. And then he told Thomas, see, look at the nail prints in my hands. Don't disbelieve, believe. And Thomas immediately had this moment where he realizes this is Jesus and his God. And a detail I noticed with this was that poor Thomas, he's probably heard this whole week, between the first incident and the second one, all the amazing stuff that everyone's seen, and the excitement that they have, and the anticipation that they're feeling, and he's having to hear about it. Now, I'm not sure why he continued to show up, but I think it could be a couple of things. It really could be that he was friends with the disciples, so he still wanted to hang out. Maybe he was afraid of the Roman authorities because he was a disciple. But I think it shows something about the community he was in, about the friendships he had with the disciples, that he was still accepted. In a lot of Christian circles these days, if you start to show any sign of doubt, people want to question your faith. They want to kick you out of the group. They want to tell you that there's something broken about you. There's something wrong with you because you doubt. And I will tell you this, to me, you can't have faith without doubt. Faith springs from doubt. Faith springs from worrying about whether all this is really true. And I think if you don't wonder at times, did God really raise Jesus from the dead? Then you're just not being honest with yourself, to be real honest with you. And I think this story really teaches us that that's sometimes is a portal into Jesus coming to us. And this community that he was in allowed him to have that. They allowed him to process it. We don't all process the same way. Sometimes it's really easy for us to just say, yeah, I got this. And then sometimes we struggle. And I have always hoped that our community would be a place where you feel comfortable with that struggle, that it's not a bad thing to have doubt. It's not a bad thing to worry about whether this is all true. And because there is so much uncertainty in our world, and of course it's going to affect our faith. And no, that doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that you're waiting. It means that you're in a place where you're still processing. You're in a place where you're trying to make sense of it all. And certainly, Lord, our teenage years are a place where that happens to us about all kinds of stuff, regardless of faith. So my word to you this morning is maybe Doubting Thomas isn't a bad nickname. Maybe there's worse nicknames we could be, because at least Thomas is honest. And so I encourage you as we go into this post-Easter season to be honest with yourself about your faith, be honest with others, and be willing to talk to your parents or me or anybody that you trust that you can talk to about your faith, that it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to wonder why. One of my former pastors said he wanted to name their church that he planted St. Doubting Thomas United Methodist Church, and I actually think that's pretty amazing. Because heck, I would go there, because that seems really cool, a place where people could really lean into their doubts. So just want to close with a quick prayer this morning. I hope that you will pray with me where you are. God, we are thankful for this story about a man who was willing to be bold and speak up when he didn't understand. And we know that while you want us to believe and you want us to have the deepest faith in you, that sometimes we just don't. And I'm thankful that we have communities where we can be ourselves, where we can process our doubts, where we can be brought to a place where we can meet you. And Lord, I pray that if we are people that don't doubt, that we will be good friends to those who do doubt, that we will be someone who accepts them, who loves them, who lets them into the community where they can be loved and accepted until Jesus can come to meet them. We pray all this in the name of your Son. We pray. Amen.